Why did Jesus use parables? Jesus often used parables, simple stories with deeper meanings, to teach profound truths in a relatable way to his listeners. Through everyday scenarios, he revealed spiritual lessons that would have been harder to grasp through direct teachings. Parables are like mirrors for the soul. Imagine looking in a mirror. A mirror shows you what's on the outside, but it can also make you reflect on what's inside. In the same way, a parable reflects simple truths, but when you think about it more deeply, it makes you reflect on your own heart and life. For example, in the parable of the sower, Matthew 13 verses 3-9, Jesus talks about seeds falling on different types of soil. On the surface, it's about a farmer planting seeds. But when you reflect, you realize the story is about how different people receive God's word. Some are like rocky soil. They hear but don't let the message take root. Others are like good soil, ready to grow in their faith. By telling this story, Jesus invites us to reflect on what kind of soil our heart is. He who has ears, let him hear. Matthew 13 verse 9. Parables are easy to remember. A parable is like a catchy song that stays in your head. It's simple enough to be understood but layered enough that you keep thinking about it. Jesus knew that his listeners, many of whom couldn't read or write, would easily remember stories more than lectures. Consider the parable of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10 verses 25-37. It's a story about a man who helps a stranger when others walk by. The message is clear: love your neighbor as yourself. By framing this teaching in a relatable scenario, Jesus ensured that the lesson would stick. Parables challenge us without forcing us. Imagine a teacher who only gives answers versus one who asks questions. The first teacher gives you facts, but the second one makes you think. Jesus, like the second teacher, used parables to make his listeners think and question their understanding. He didn't want to spoon-feed them. He wanted them to wrestle with the ideas. In the parable of the Prodigal Son, Luke 15 verses 11-32, the story is about a son who wastes his inheritance, returns home in shame, and is welcomed back by his father. On the surface, it's a heartwarming tale of forgiveness. But as you dig deeper, you realize it's also about God's love and grace for us. The older brother's reaction challenges our ideas of fairness, pushing us to think about how we treat others who don't deserve mercy. Parables reach the heart, not just the mind. If you've ever watched a movie that made you feel something, you understand the power of stories. Facts can inform, but stories can transform. Jesus used parables to bypass intellectual arguments and go straight to the heart. He didn't just want his listeners to understand a lesson. He wanted them to feel it, live it, and be changed by it. The parable of the lost sheep, Luke 15 verses 1-7, is a perfect example. A shepherd leaves 99 sheep to find one that's lost. The story pulls at your heart, showing how deeply God cares for each of us, no matter how far we've wandered. Rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep. Luke 15 verse 6. Parables separated those who wanted to understand from those who didn't. Finally, Jesus used parables as a way to divide those who genuinely sought the truth from those who didn't care to listen. Those who were hungry for spiritual knowledge would think about the story and seek its meaning. Others would hear the parable and dismiss it as a simple tale. As Jesus explained to his disciples, though seeing they do not see, though hearing they do not hear or understand. Matthew 13 verse 13. By speaking in parables, Jesus ensured that only those willing to listen deeply would discover the real treasure within his words. Jesus used parables because they were simple, memorable, and thought-provoking. They appealed to both the mind and the heart, challenging listeners to reflect on their lives and seek deeper truths. Like seeds sown on different soils, the lessons in parables took root in those who were open to receiving them.